forward. There we go. Okay. You ready? You there? Can you still hear everything okay?
I can still hear everything. Yeah. Can you hear me?
I can hear you now. Okay, so here we go. Welcome back to Little Tweaks and Giant Wins. This is Jill Underwood. Okay, scratch that. I don't like that. I don't even know why I said that. I never start with that. Oh my God, unrecord. Take two. Hey. Welcome back, everybody. This is Jill Underwood, your hostess. Today, I have a fabulous guest with me, Tammy Ebright. She and I go way back. We used to work together. I'm going to go with almost like decades ago. Has it been that long?
It has been, it's been close to 10 years, 8 years.
10-ish, 8 or 9 or 10, maybe. So, and you are at gorgeous, the Ozarks. I can see the trees in the background. It looks just amazing where you're at right now.
Yes, this is my happy place where I've always just come to relax, and we just recently moved here to live, which has been quite a journey in itself.
Well, and you have had a very long and fascinating and interesting journey, my friend. So tell our listeners a little bit about you and your backstory. Who is Tammy Ebright?
Oh, that is a big question. So my backstory, I have a 20-year mortgage career where I've been on both sides, where I was had my own closing document company and processing. And then when the market crashed in 2008, I decided to go be one of those unorganized loan officers that were sending me their files at the last minute and stressing me out. And and so I was able to like build my business by referral for several years. And in 2011, I won an award for top 10 in my company. Got the award in January of 2012.
Ooh.
And yeah, it was pretty good. It was 3 years of really working hard to build a referral based mortgage business. And then in August of that year, the company I worked for got bought by a bigger company and we all left the whole, and that's when I started working with you.
Right. I remember those days where companies would just get bought and bought again and bought again. And then suddenly you'd show up and the doors were locked. I remember those days.
And so that was August of 2012. And then October, my grandmother, who was kind of like a mother to me when I was little, she died. And then in November, my husband, David, died suddenly, leaving me to raise my children, who were 4 and 10 at that time. So.
But here you are. You're still here. You're still standing. Your kids are grown, and you look and sound amazing. So you got through some pretty bad shit, girl.
There has been a lot of challenges to work through. One being a solo mom, but also being a solo mom and being in such a high stress industry as the mortgage industry, that where you really need to be available. And so I found a lot of times that my time was really, I was being pulled away from my children, and they weren't flourishing as well. And so that is part of what happened whenever I kind of shifted into more of a training and coaching stance to help other originators, is to also have a better home life for my children.
Perfect. All right. So tell me more about that, because at that point is when you started Unleash Your Amazing, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Tell me about that, because that just has always fascinated me, about how you just pivoted and did that and rocked that. So share that story with us.
Well, in January of 2018, I was managing a branch, and I went to Atlanta to get certified, become a certified referral trainer, which was on the systems that I originally used to grow my business. So on Michael Mayer's book, The 7 Levels of Communication.
Right.
And then on February 12th, I got separation papers. They had decided to, like the company I was working for decided to leave our market, and I had to find another job. And had just started doing these monthly events again, which is originally how I grew my business, was by doing monthly events, and which was the Unleash Your Amazing series. And so on February 14th, I created my LLC for Unleash Your Amazing, because honestly, I didn't want that company's name. I was going to still keep doing my events, even though I hadn't landed at a new place yet. And I didn't want their name to be on my marketing stuff. I needed to shift, and I started creating my own brand.
I actually remember that. I know who you're talking about.
Yes.
And I remember that. And it was like, sometimes you just got to go, well, that's kind of shitty, And I remember thinking that at the time. That was just kind of, wow, okay, that was a little shitty. So, but again, you persevered and you moved forward and you pivoted and kept moving forward.
Yeah. So I interviewed 17 different mortgage companies, because I had actually had kind of rocky transition even into that role. I had made another stop at another company in between that wasn't, a lot of times when you're being recruited, they sell you the moon.
Oh yes, they do.
There, and it's not what you expected. And I think that a lot of companies would do a lot better if they would have more transparency and authenticity whenever they're, in the recruiting process.
Amen to that. Because even in today's world, so believe me, every recruiter is out there in full force right now. And I get messages and texts and LinkedIn's and phone calls and just everything. And everybody says that they are better, bigger and better and will pay me more. And I'm just like, I know better. The grass is not greener. The grass is greener where you water it. I'm watering my grass right here,
I love that.
So, it's very true.
Well, when I decided to leave and start to help people grow, I had been feeling this calling since shortly after my husband died. So one of the things that I study, though, is called human design, and it's about when our souls came to earth. And so what I've learned since, though, in studying that is, so I am what's called a 4-6 profile. And so the 4 is this opportunist networker. I have always been really good at connecting people. I meet somebody new, I'm like, oh, you should meet this person. And it's just something that I did naturally. And then the 6th is a role model that goes through 3 different life spans. So from 0 to 28, 30, they're going to live their life in a more hard knocks, experimental kind of time where they're really learning by trial and error. And so from 28-ish to 50 years old, they're doing more of where their life is supposed to be more steady. They're doing what's called being on the roof, where they're a little more aloof. They're a little more removed from the craziness of their network so that they can heal from the first 30 years of their life. So I was 40 when David died. And I think that for several years, it kind of actually kicked me back into that third line where it was learning by trial and error and experiencing a lot of trauma. So it was this where it's preparing me to, when you're 50, you come off the roof. It's your Chiron return. And Chiron is a wounded healer. So where you come off the roof and you're supposed to be this role model and really help people to grow through a lot of the challenges that you have experienced.
That is absolutely fascinating. I wonder what do you think I am?
Well, we can take a look at your chart. Yeah.
But isn't that so interesting? Because what you just described is so deep. It's so deep of, what you were going through, and the way that you handled it has to do with your spirit and your soul that's been in you all along, right? Is that?
Yeah. Our souls, our spirit comes here to learn different lessons. Earth is school. and we are here to like move through these challenges to get to the other side. And when we're not learning those lessons, we're reintroduced with different characters in our life story that are going to show us those same wounds until we're ready to like really grow through it and learn the lesson and be like, okay, no more of that.
So random. So does that mean that you believe like, do we just have this one life, or do we get multiple lives? Because I've had people tell me that I have had multiple lives, and in another life I was this, and in another life I was that, and maybe there's more than one. Does that teaching, because I've never heard of that before, does that have anything to do with learning? And we didn't make it, so we got to learn it again in a different life?
Or you made it so far and you have to learn more to go to the next level, is what it is. I do believe that we live different lives and we have soul contracts with people that are helping us to really learn these, a lot of times, really tough, like smackdown kind of lessons. And when we're going through it, it's really kind of hard to see that on, right in front of you. But when I really started studying my own design, it helped me to really, one, validate what I was internally feeling.
Okay.
So I have this circuitry that's called the integration circuit, which is about empowerment. So part of my life purpose is to be myself authentically and empower. In doing so, I empower other people to be themselves. And that is something that I have been talking about for years, even before I knew it. Be yourself, you be you. Like, I've been talking these things that are in this manual of human design. And when I look up my own stuff, it says that I'm to be empowered. But when I found human design, I had some really, like, I was pretty broken, actually. I was like,
Understandably so, girl. Oh my
I was
gosh.
in, like, the fetal position and crying
Mhm.
and not sure what was next. And I was asking for guidance, please, like, show me the way. What am I missing? Give me clarity. And a coach had turned me on to human design a few years before, but it wasn't time yet. And I picked out my coaching thing and my profile fell out on the floor, and I picked it up, and that's been almost 2 years ago. And ordered the manual and just have obsessively studied about our souls and, my own personal stuff, my children's stuff, everybody I know. Like, it's given me such a greater perspective on even my mother and like her relationships that she's had a lot of trauma, and I had a lot of trauma growing up because she was in a lot of trauma.
It's amazing how many of us that happens to, and we don't see it at the time. We don't realize it at the time, because when we're growing up, that's all we know.
Mm-hmm.
You just know what's right in front of you and what you see every day. And it's only later in life that we look back and go, yeah, that was jacked up, right?
That was some messed up stuff.
That
Yeah.
was some messed up stuff. Yeah, I think that it's a rare that I know people who don't have the jacked up stuff. So is that part of what you're teaching in your? Did we get into Unleash Your Amazing yet? Have we got into that yet? Is that what you're teaching? So you're training, because you're a trainer and a coach. Tell me more about, is that what you're incorporating, or is it broader than what you teach and coach
So
on?
I blend or integrate about 6 different sciences to help people really develop more self-awareness and empowerment. I am able to, my sun sign is in the gate 59, which is the gate of intimacy. So one of my really big strengths is like really being able to go deep with people and hold space and then bring them through their pain to help them self-heal. Because we don't need a healer. We are our own healer. We just
Mhm.
have to step into that. And so I use the data to like really show people deeply, like this is the new mainstream. So you look at behaviors and our motivators, emotional intelligence. That's one modality, but then you integrate the human design of where your soul was coming to learn, and it can kind of see like how on track are you, or are you not living, like are you living in the not self conditioned version of yourself, or are you really unleashing your amazing person that you are? And I think that everybody is here to be their biggest, most amazing person.
I'm going to give it most people, not everybody. Some people are fine where they're at, but I'm not at all. Okay, you said something a second ago that I want to go deeper into because this is like a new phrase that I hear a lot now, and I'm not exactly sure what it means. You said hold space.
I am a great
What
listener.
did you what?
I'm a great listener.
So what does that mean exactly? That I'm listening, so that means I'm holding space for you, for you're holding space for me, or for you, or I honestly don't know what that phrase means.
So when more than one person is in a conversation, you actually are creating essentially a third energy. And
Okay.
so, but holding space really is the ability to really listen, not only to the words that you're saying, but the words that you're not saying, and help you to really go to the depth of what you're going through, whether it's painful, or maybe you're just looking to find different ideas to grow your business and create more of a solid plan. Like a lot of times people need both. And so by holding space and really listening to what clients say, I'm just really able to get them really quick results.
Okay. So it has to do with you really listening. Like, for example, if I were your client, you're really listening to what I'm saying, what I need. You're looking at my data on all of the scientific side of it that you have, created and compiled. And then you're helping me to create an energy for me to be better.
I'm helping
Kind
you
of.
understand your energy so you
Okay.
quit doubting your greatness and you just step into it. Because
Okay.
we've been conditioned to play small or ignore our intuition, or, gosh, not be the person that we are destined to be because it's uncomfortable sometimes for other people. But on the flip side of that, I also, it's not all about, you know, it's not all about me and my life or you and your life. There's other people in our environment that are
Right.
triggering us. And most of the time, we don't know why they're triggering us. They don't mean to trigger us. It's just misunderstanding and communication. And so the science helps to understand. In human design, we have different centers. And so if you have a center that's defined, and then somebody else has that center that is undefined, that undefined person is amplifying that energy in that center when they're together. So an example, my daughter, our charts are almost opposite in two gates on each side. So that's two centers on each side. So that's four centers where either I'm defined and she's undefined, or she's defined and I'm undefined.
Okay.
Her emotional center is defined. So her emotions, she rides this wave that's like this, and then it pops up and then it pops down. There's four different emotional waves. So for a long time, not even knowing it, she would get in the down of her wave and I would amplify that down, and I would go down into that wave with her, and it was not pretty. Because it's painful when she's in the low of her wave. It makes me just really stressed and anxious because the undefined is sometimes a little bit of a people pleaser, wants to make everything better. And then it's your child, so there's additional that, and it's her dad that died, so there's grief and trauma. So we were emotionally out of control. And when I read about the undefined emotional center, um that's how those people have felt most of their life, is a little bit emotionally out of control. And it's not that I'm out of control emotionally. I get with other people that aren't there in their emotions and unaware, I'm going to amplify that.
That's so fascinating. That really, and I can totally see that. And I'm now visualizing all of these places that I've been in my life in the past where I was down in that cycle. Oh wow. And so that's what you do. That's what you coach people on and help people with. Oh,
Yeah. Understanding their own energy
okay.
and the science behind them to develop more awareness, and so that they have better relationships. Because at the end of the day, like, human design really helped me to like step into my own power, but it also helped me to nurture my children. I mean, my daughter, she was pretty sick when I found human design. We had had a toxic entity in our life that, it wasn't a romantic relationship for me, but was a long-term friend of their dad's that had a lot of negative energy. And she really started getting sick when he was around a lot. And I think that
Really?
that's because she has the undefined spleen, which is our fear center. So she takes fear and amplifies it. Where I have that defined, I'm more centered. I have great intuition. I have constant access to my intuition. I had to learn to trust it. She doesn't have constant access to her intuition, but she will feel it in a stronger way. So I could hear her telling me, I don't like, he has really negative energy, mom, but this is somebody I had known for 20 years. And so it's interesting to see in hindsight a lot of the energy that was going on in our lives, until like really I took the time to understand our energy and to learn to not like, just because she's in the low of her wave doesn't mean that I have to take that on. So somebody that has the undefined emotional center needs to be a screen, not a sponge. So that undefined like lets me go deep with people. But most of my life I would go there and I would be triggered by wherever they were because I wasn't aware of it. I just didn't know, especially if I drink. So I've not hardly drank at all in the last couple of years, maybe 1 or 2 drinks a month, because I just don't like how it affects me when I'm around other people. I now notice it because that person triggered a huge spiritual awakening for me. And the trauma took me to the depth of my pain finally. Like I had three of them all at once, and it was pretty chaotic. It's like, okay, Tammy, it's time for you to slow your butt down and heal so that you will be ready to come off the roof.
That is so powerful. And yes, the whole triggers has been really come to the surface for me in my life lately, and seeing some of those triggers. And it's like, oh, wow. Right. When you realize that that's a trigger that takes you to a place that I really don't want to go back there, but now I recognize it and now I can overcome it.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you utilize this and your other science to help people become better? And how do you do that? You don't have to give all your, deep, dark secrets, but
Yeah. So a lot of times it's just awareness. So I actually started, so it's been almost 7 years. So it actually, our cells regenerate every 7 years. So every 7 years, you're essentially a new person.
oh,
So
really?
I've
Okay.
been studying. So I started out doing Sandler sales training, and I learned about DISC, which is behaviors, and driving forces, which is, why do we get out of bed each day? And so after 2018, when I lost my job, I went ahead and got certified in those sciences. and started studying emotional intelligence. So that was 5 years before human design found me. And so that's where I really started to get my baseline and understand. So the report that I provide to clients really tells them, this are the do's and don'ts for communicating with me. This is how I'm motivated. Based on my level of emotional intelligence, I'm going to be more triggered or I'm going to be less triggered. I'm going to be able to temper my emotions. It just really is a 60-page report all about you to help you really go deep and understand yourself. And it's a self-assessment. Where the human design also, when you blend that in, which isn't so black and white, like that's something that I have to like really manually calculate, like all of this stuff to help them. But most of what people say is it feels very validating to really. So I think that the mainstream science, the disc and the motivators may wake you up and go, oh, that's how people can perceive me. Ooh. Where the human design validates how you feel, but just because you feel empowered doesn't mean you get to make other people feel less. So I think that it's important that as we step into our amazing self, that we're also kind and understanding how our energy can be triggering to others, as well as understanding how other people can be triggering to our energy. Because that's how you create a better world, right? Is by being aware of your own self and how that affects other people.
Do you find that as you work with your clients and they do become better, they do recognize this and they follow your guidance to become better, do you find that they have the struggles with that, of maybe their tribe that's around them right now, and then they level up and now their tribe is different or perceives them different? Do you find that happens?
Yeah, that's part of the spiritual growth, though, is the amazing part about that is, yeah, it does suck, because a lot of times the people that you've been with that are maybe still stuck in a lot of their shadow characteristics, they don't resonate with you anymore. But as you grow and get better, either they're going to come along or you're going to meet people that are on that level who also are looking to go to the next level. We can't stay stagnant with people that aren't ready to go on their growth journey yet. And it can be lonely sometimes, but I think that it's super cool whenever you're really just being authentically yourself, and you're drawing in. We have our identity center is the magnetic monopole of our higher self is inside us. And so when we are on purpose, when we are living in alignment, when we are making decisions that are in our highest best interest, we are attracting naturally the people that are going to go with us to the next level.
I love that. And I've had that happen to me several times just in the past. Well, it's been like 9 years since the big divorce, right? Because that was like a turning point in my life. And yeah, along the way, I had some people that were just, let's just call it bad influences. And then once I made that decision of, yeah, I don't want to do that. That's not me. I don't want to be the woman, partying at, till 2 and 3 o'clock in the morning. And once I got away from that, those friends were no longer around. But it opens up when you release the people that are bad influences, it opens up this space, and suddenly new people with like-minded, characteristics suddenly come into your life. And I've just always found that fascinating. But it's the design of life. And I've had that happen a multitude of times. Maybe that's why the big divorce happened. I mean, it's like, that's not the life I want to live, dude. Right?
Yeah. So I think that it's really interesting to look at the difference. So my mom has been married and divorced 5 times, and she has an energetic type, which is she's only has 2 centers defined. So 2 out of 9 are defined, but she's attracted to mates that have most of it defined. So they have constant access to their energy, where she's amplifying whatever they are. And it's helped me as a daughter to be more forgiving to a lot of the stuff that has happened in life, but also to help her to understand why that's happening. Because like our parents didn't necessarily have access to, all the technology and the knowledge and the things that we're learning about. And so I think that part of it too is a lot of people may feel like they have to step away from even those kind of relationships. And that's just like, my family is still, my parents, or even though we have challenges, are still part of my fractal, if you call it my tribe. That's right. One tribe. My children, we're a tribe, or a fractal is one of the words that I've recently heard that I thought was a really great word. Like you create different fractals together, when you're with, and like right now we're a fractal of energy chatting. And yeah, I think that it's really powerful to like look at those past patterns and of behavior of people that you've been around, and like seeing, okay, wow, that's why I was always triggered by them, is because our energy isn't matched here. And so if you're wanting to still have a relationship with some people, like understanding that is so eye-opening. It's just, I can't even tell you what kind of difference this has made for my relationships and my own inner peace.
I can see that. I can see that you have a lot of inner peace right now. You do. I can see that. I can feel it.
Yeah.
So what's coming up for you next? You just moved back to Missouri. You've at your gorgeous lake home. So what's up? What's up for you next?
Well, I am actually Monday, I start a new position at Zenix Mortgage Academy, where I'm going to be a training facilitator. Yay. And learn their systems and help people and be able to hopefully make an impact on a greater scale.
Because don't they teach people how to be a loan originator? Mm-hmm. Do they just do loan originators, or the mortgage industry as a whole?
They do the mortgage industry as a whole. Mm-hmm.
Outstanding. That'll be right up your alley. Yeah. There's so many people that come to me from, I call it the next generation, and they want to get in the mortgage business, and the mortgage business is a great business to be in. You know that you've been around. It's tough. I've developed some really thick skin, but it's a great industry because everybody needs shelter, right? And everybody wants to buy a house. And I love helping people in that regard. So when I have some of these youngsters coming to me and saying, Jill, how do I get in the business? It's hard because a lot of companies won't hire inexperienced people, and you can't get it's the catch-22, right? When you're 16, you can't get a car until you have a job, and you can't get a job until you have a car. The mortgage industry is the same way, right? You can't get a job in the mortgage industry until you have experience, but you don't get experience until you get a job in the industry. So how do you fit into that to help? Can I like refer these people to you?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, I would love to help them. So Zenix has programs from just somebody just starting out to other people that are looking just to take their business to the next level. They train underwriters and processors, executives. They have a full slew, but I mean, I start Monday. I get to start at like the ground floor and like really learn their way and understand that. And I'm just really, I had a lot of trauma in the mortgage business, and like being able to really make a difference in that industry is something that I felt really a passion for. And, to help people to really understand managers and leaders too, that sometimes like your people are going through other stuff, and you really need to be willing to go deep with them and kind of find out what's going on and kind of help them through that. Because your originators, your team, your people, like that is your biggest asset, is your people. And if they're struggling and you're not there to kind of help guide them or give them resources, or at least say hey, how can I help, then the next time a recruiter calls, they're going to be more open to listening to that and going to a different place. And that may or may not be the best route for them. I know that whenever I left the one bigger company that I was, and then I had all the chaos since, I wish that we had, I wish that I had gone to them when I was struggling so much in a lot of ways, but I also wish that they had been there and had been like, hey, I know you have a lot going on with your family and raising your kids, and man, you just got a concussion. Like, how can we help you? But that wasn't my journey. And I think that it wasn't my journey because I was supposed to learn all of that and see how it is kind of broken and help to make it better.
I love that. You're so cool, and you have come through so far through so much. You're just an inspiration to us all. You really, really are, girl.
Thank you. It's what are you going to do? I have a lot of strength in my design.
And there's so much of us that we have to, but I think we had this conversation at dinner about a week or so ago, because some friends, they just moved and this has been very traumatic. And she said to me, she said, I had a breakdown, Jill. I just had a meltdown. I just did. And I was like, you know what? Good for you. Because we have to feel those emotions, because if we don't, and we don't get them out and share them with our mate, then it's just going to fester and fester and fester. And then, just someday it explodes, and nobody wants that. And I see a lot of men these days. I actually talked about this with somebody recently too. There's a lot of men, in the self-help circuit these days, that they're just coming forth and talking on social media or on their podcasts or wherever. They're just coming forth and talking about their feelings, right? And these are big, burly ass men, right? They're all tatted up and, kind of just, big, burly guys. And they're talking about how they have a fear of, asking somebody for a table at a restaurant. They have a fear of, just abandonment issues is one I've heard lately. They have a fear of losing their business. Now, thriving, multi-million-dollar business, but they have a fear that one day it's going to all be gone. And these big, burly ass men are talking about their feelings. And I love it. For me, it's like, oh my God, you make me feel so much better about myself, because we all have our fears that we have to break through or jump over. So do you hear that? Do you find that there's so many like popular people, I say popular on like socials and such, that it just blows my mind, because I've never heard men talk this openly about their feelings before?
We're moving into this shift. We've been in this cross of planning. And so in 2027, we're moving into this, the cross of the sleeping phoenix, which happens to be my incarnation cross. So 400 years we've been in this cross of planning, where we're like building systems and structures. And the sleeping phoenix, like the rise of the phoenix, the phoenix has to crash before it rises. And so you can kind of see how everything in society right now is breaking down.
Oh, yes.
To rebuild. We have to break down. There needs to be lots of reform in corporations with, you see how COVID has affected in the remote working. I think that that's going to be more popular. The school systems really, it's been over hundreds of years now of the same kind of structure. And as my children say, it's like they're going to prison. The schools are like even set up like cell blocks, right? And so I think that there will be some reform with that, reform of our government. Like a lot of things are going to break down so that we can break through. And the newer, like as our children are having children, they're going to, the emotional center is going to be even more of a part of our society. We're moving into more emotional intelligence. And emotional intelligence is about sharing your feelings authentically. I said this to my mom the other day. It's like, as your cup runneth over, you have to, the Sleeping Phoenix is about individualism. And so we're going to move into a society where people are more individualistic, but it's not me instead of you. It's me first for me so that I have enough to give to others. You got to put your mask on first before you can really and truly help other people. But the cross-up planning in the previous, we were taught, our parents were taught, you know, you give to others first in, you know, and you don't matter, other people matter first, and then what's left you give. But that's not how it is. And we learn that when we fly. Like seriously, you know, you have to put your mask on first, because if you're dead, the other person can't get nothing from you anyway.
That's beautifully said. I just actually did a podcast about what I call good selfish and bad selfish. You know, I was talking to one of my girlfriends, and she and her husband went on vacation by themselves, and she left the business for her sons to take care of while she was gone. And then she came back and said, I feel so selfish. I feel so guilty. And I was like, girl, let's talk about this. Because there's a good selfish and a bad selfish, because we have to take care of ourselves. And, you know, they've said this for years, you know, you have to take care of yourself before you can take care of someone else. Now, when I was raising my daughter and two stepsons, I didn't get any of that, right? Back then, raising kids first, husband first. I had my mortgage business. We had a car repair business, PTA vice president, you know, just I had all these things going on, and I really didn't take care of me. And then once I realized, it was like, you know, the light bulb moment of, okay, yeah, 55 pounds later, I'm in shitty shape and I need to do something about it. And that's when I had to really be selfish to get me back healthy again. And how that changed not only my body, but changed my mind, changed my outlook on everything, was a phenomenal reboot of my life. It really, really was. So, yes, we have to be selfish and take care of us first, as long as it's not at the expense of somebody else.
Exactly. Yeah.
You
So
know,
it's not me instead of you, it's me and you, but me first for me, and you should be you first for you.
right?
And
Yes.
then you give to each other as you have extra. And then it just makes things, you know, flow better in our lives.
So much of what you're talking about should really completely change the direction of, for example, leadership inside of corporations, right? Do you see that coming too? That the way that people lead is going to modify?
I do see that happening. And I think that it's going to have to happen. People want to work in cultures that with other people that care about them. It's been interesting.
True.
So, my interview process with Xenix was like 45 days. Like I met with them 5 or 6 different times. But since then, they made the announcement. I've had probably 7 people that I don't know call me, connect with me on LinkedIn, and just welcome me to the team. Like that is the kind of culture and things that I see happening in the future, is where um, people, when you go to work for a company, they're really going to invest in you, invest in it, because when they invest in you and you feel good about what you're doing, how you're working with them, then you're going to give them more work, a better production than you will if you feel like you're not part of their culture, and their culture is fake. They say things, you know, the posters on the wall say one thing, but you're experiencing a totally different environment. And that's hard as, people, because we have lives outside of our jobs. And when our lives are chaotic, if we could have our job be like a little less chaotic and more supportive, then it's going to be easier to transform our personal life. It just all kind of flows around. And I think it's a lot about surrendering and learning to be in the flow with things and understanding, where you're going and where you want to go, and having not a solid plan, but at least a guide of, what you're looking to do.
Wow, that's just so deep. And I absolutely love that. You are so cool. And thank you so much for being here. So tell me this, how can people find you?
They can find me on social media, Tammy Ebright, TammyEbright. And then my email is tammy@unleashyouramazing.com.
Outstanding. Okay. Well, there you have it, everyone. The gorgeous, the amazing, the highly intelligent, the oh my gosh, she dropped a lot of amazing nuggets. Tammy Ebright. Thank you so much, honey, for being here with me today. It's so good to connect. And I'm thrilled for you, and I'm happy, so happy that you're back in Missouri. I'm because you're back home.
Yes.
You're back home.
It feels good to be home for sure. There was way too many people in Florida for me. Too much collective energy.
I love Florida, but I don't know that I could live there. It's a great place to visit. It really, really is. So your feedback about that was really enlightening for me. And it's like, I think you're right.
The Midwest, we just have like this, and it's just,
And your background is absolutely stellar. I can see the water.
I love it being here. And I have a large deck that I can just spread out and go down into the pond. And yeah, it's nice. I love it.
Well, if it weren't 200 degrees today, I would probably be doing this out on my back deck as well. But anyway, we'll do that when it's a little cooler.
Sounds good.
All right, my dear. Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody, for listening in. I really, really appreciate it. If you got something out of today's episode, please forward it. Please share it. Please give us a 5-star review on all of the iTunes and things, and let us know your feedback. You know where to find us on socials. So until next time, thank you, everybody. Make it a fabulous day. Love you.